I've received a few submissions now, and I noticed that some of you are submitting files that won't work either functionally or won't be markable through the auto marker. So I want to highlight just a few things that are crucial. The first thing I want to show you is just a file that was sent to me, not as a submission per se, but sent to me to check and to help with. The 50 ohm resistance that you had to test. The idea was that you're able to test the 5-volt supply and see how it performs. So as soon as you design your circuit, you need to remove this. You don't want that 50 ohm there. It's really just there. It was there to test this voltage regulator. That's all you wanted that for. The next thing I wanted to just show you is when you want to work with a circuit that uses a little current, it doesn't really help much if you use very low resistances. So in this example, just consider you have a 10 ohm resistance to generate a voltage ground. Those two resistances in series and give you a 20 ohm. So the amount of current that will flow here will be 250 milliamps just through this part of the circuit. That's not really going to be great for the performance of your regulator. So if your regulator is acting up, this would probably do it. The specification said you should reach a current of no more than 25, if I remember correctly, milliamps. So when you work with resistances, don't think about NST that you did at school. You want to think about realistic values that'll fit into the current requirement that we've set here. So that's important to take note of. The other thing to just be aware of, we will obviously be measuring current here. So we will check the voltage drop across our 10 milliohm resistance. So you want to take away anything that detracts from, or at least that uses more current than what you need. So this circuit here I provided just as a silly circuit to connect the inputs and outputs to. You're not supposed to send this back to us. So remove this completely. You don't want it. Also, this is supposed to capture your name and your details. We don't check this, but that's the intention, that at least your drawing has a name and some specification attached to it. Alright, so that's the other thing. Then with regards to your circuit here, I see many of you have done this, where you've generated a virtual ground and generated an offset, which, by the way, it's totally up to you whether you do it or not. You can do this whole circuit in one op-amp without doing any funnies, but if you wanted to follow this approach, then you need to carefully think about the fact that, this is a very important thing to consider, this virtual ground here, it goes there, right? It's attached here. Now, because it is attached here, those two resistances are combined with those two resistances in a resistance network where this is connected to the one high side, this is connected to the other high side, and the current that flows between these resistances will affect the voltage levels that you have here at the input of the op-amp. So you need to buffer this. So the way to buffer this is, you can use one of the op-amps, it doesn't matter which one. The way to buffer it is to use a voltage follower. So that's what you want to do. So as soon as you do that, you're buffering this here against any current flows that could happen here. You're basically pegging that and using the op-amp to drive it. Now, if that voltage ground is lower than what the op-amp can supply, you need to modify this to be TLC 2272 because that's rail to rail, so it can go much lower. But it's more expensive. There we go. So now V offset is stable and it won't be affected. The next thing is, please don't use these symbols. It's going to kill our auto marker. So don't use symbols like this. The way you want to do it is exactly the same as you used that op-amp. So you can either go make a new one or you can copy and paste as I did earlier. But this is the op-amp symbol that I need you to use. Op-amp 2, because it's built in, so our auto marker will detect it. And then you connect this to these inputs and you just specify it as DLC2272. Okay, so again, I'm not giving you the circuit as something that'll work. You obviously don't know what the specs for this is either, but it's important that you note those details.